Hello, everybody. So I'll give this a couple minutes or seconds here to for other people to get on board, and if you could let me know that you can hear me. All right, that would be great. So just let me know that you can hear me. Uh, Say hello, where you're from. That's always good information for me. Great. So you can hear me all right before I start yapping. I hope everybody's living a good life during these pretty wild times. So, cool. Thanks for answering. So, Wisconsin, great. Sri Lanka, that's awesome. Okay, so let's kind of begin. We've got a decent number of people on board now, so we can start. And my lighting is better than it was last time, so that's good. So, which is just natural lighting, so it's a little brighter today. Okay, so I kind of get this question a lot, or there's something similar to this question is, is now a good time to not only start a business but a bookkeeping business? So that's really two questions. But so let's just focus on the bookkeeping business. Is it a good time to start a bookkeeping business? Uh, and so I'll go through. We'll do a Q&A. Good to see everybody. We'll do a Q&A afterwards, so you can post up anytime you want along the way. Any thoughts you have or questions, and I'll address those kind of after I talk about these 3 points that I thought of. Okay, and I'm going to talk about them, I think, in a different order than I have them listed in the description. But so I think first, I think we should talk about the power of positive thinking, being able to problem solve, and taking action during these times. So I'm observing what's going on around me in my neighborhood, and here's getting a little bit. And I see a lot of people that are still kind of in, uh, you know, off of work mode, summer break mode, uh, you know, enjoying some not going to work time. And I'm telling you, it's okay to, we've been at this for a while now. So I think it's time to get over that if you're still in that and start and get to work, because and it's okay to do that for a little bit, but we've been at this for a while. So it's time to get to work, I think, and start setting yourself up for future unknowns. We're still at a very big unknown point, and there could easily be future unknowns that come along. So it is time to set yourself up for now, a year from now, 5 years, 10 years from now, and you never know what's going to happen. We could enter a world where mostly everybody works from home, or who knows what's going to happen. I don't even want to try to predict, but like, you need to be in a situation that where you can make money from home, and there's no better example of the importance of that than what's going on in today's world. So there's a lot of people not doing anything. There's a lot of people that are doing stuff, and there's a lot of people that are not doing anything right now. So those that are taking action now are going to see benefits from that in the future. Just sitting back, seeing what happens. That's kind of a follower mentality instead of a person that gets in front of things and starts starts driving the bus on their own life. And so it's okay. You don't have to have a negative attitude about the future. It's actually positive attitude. You're going to be in charge of your own future going forward. Now is a great time to do that. You may be in a situation where you can't work, so there is maybe no better time than now, as far as having the free time to do that, um, to really focus on another career path and knock it out of the park. Um, so there could be a problem right now in your life. You need to figure out, that problem solving skills and how to get around it, how to make money now. And a bookkeeping business is an excellent thing to do. And going on to the second point of the importance of, bookkeeping for a business, especially during these hard times. But businesses are going to need bookkeeping. Period. Unless they go out of business. And so, and also with all the, there's some loans and grants and stuff going on right now. That businesses that used to kind of try to do their books themselves, or not really take care of their books, there is a greater importance now in having good books, because uh, some of these things are going to require documentation to show that how they use their money, and so they need good books. So even if a business is having hard times right now, and the doors are closed, there's still bills that they have to pay. They still have to have bookkeeping. And if they're like around where I am, there's restaurants that are half open, and lots of things that are half open. They have half occupancy allowed. They, even though they're on hard times, they still need to have bookkeeping done. Unless they're going out of the business really soon, they need to have books done. And it could be argued that even if they're going out of business, they should have books done. But and then wherever there's gaps in businesses, there's always going to be opportunity. Wherever there's hardships and things, certain types of businesses close, and the world changes a little bit, shifts a little bit, there's going to be all kinds of new businesses that open. Like there's going to be a ton of new to-go type of restaurants, or eating outside kind of restaurants, and there's going to be all kinds of things that cater to more of an outdoor environment. So there's going to, we're, us humans are naturally creative, and we're constantly thinking of new things. So you should be a part of that, and think that there's going to be a lot of different types of businesses opening, and more of them that did not exist in the past. So when one door closes, another one opens. You take something out of the fridge, something seems to take its place. That kind of thing. Thinking is the same with businesses. You're going to see just different types of businesses. Some are going to make it, some are not, and others are going to replace the ones that don't make it. So bookkeeping is going nowhere. It's going to be around, and going to need good people to take care of it. So, and then, like I said, there's a lot of businesses that are getting money from the government now that need to track that money properly. So it's good to, they used to do their own bookkeeping, or not so much bookkeeping, and where they now have to actually keep better books. Because somebody may come knocking someday, and it might be a couple years down the road, but they might come knocking and say, let's see your books during this period of time and see if you owe some of this money back, and if you do, how much, that kind of thing. So, and we don't know how all that's going to pan out. So that's the importance of doing bookkeeping during hard times, is that there's still a requirement to, there's going to be taxes returns that have to be done. The one of the big reasons for doing bookkeeping is so they can have their tax returns done. And so unless they're going out of business, they're going to have a tax return done, and there's still a need for us bookkeepers. So that kind of also talks about the third point, which is the second on the list, because I started with number 3. Is there bookkeeping work out there, and will there be in the future? And I totally think I'm still getting a lot of requests for my services, and some of them actually talk about the money that they've received and tracking that. And so I think there's plenty from what I've seen, and I'm really in there with everybody else, and everybody that's in Bookkeeping Life. I'm watching what they're doing, and everybody seems to be saying that there's still plenty. There's a lot of work out there. So you're going to see a lot of entrepreneurs too. There are people that are that lost their job. They have time at home. They're thinking, how am I going to avoid this problem in the future? One, don't work for somebody besides yourself. So they're thinking, oh, you know what, I do this kind of well, I should make a business out of this. So they do, and then guess what? They need bookkeeping. So you're going to see a lot of entrepreneur. I think you're going to see a lot of growth in entrepreneur, people that are creating their own businesses, and lots of small businesses, and they're all going to need that really basic level one bookkeeping that we talk about in Bookkeeping Life, and what the Bookkeeping Life program teaches is that level one, how to get up and running in that level one bookkeeping, so you can help these types of really small businesses. Um, that's my thought on, is it a good time? Yes, I think it's a great time to start. I think it's always been a good time to start. So my tune hasn't changed on that. And it may be argued that it's even a better time now than never, especially if you have the time now and you didn't before. So let's start looking at some of these comments. And if you have any, please, I see a lot of people do. So let's start going through them. Yeah. Okay. So first client. So my first client is way more complicated than I thought. They're bringing their QuickBooks to underwriters and asking me to attend their meetings, want their financials audited. Okay, so most bookkeepers are not auditors. Audited financials is actually, especially, I mean, every state has their own level of guidelines as far as that's concerned, but in California, and I'm assuming in most states, if not all, you have to meet a pretty high bar to be able to audit financials. And just a book, just kind of your regular bookkeeper does not qualify. So I would say that they need a licensed CPA that does audits. I would That's outside your wheelhouse. Never feel, and I felt this in the beginning, probably for 10 of the 20 years I've been doing this, I've probably felt this way, is that I've always been slightly in over my head on things, always, and and definitely in over my head on other things. And because I didn't know how to, I thought it was a weakness. I felt it was a weakness in me, especially being a CPA. Everybody thinks that CPAs know everything about everything when it comes to this world, and it's just simply not true. It's like saying to a doctor that they know everything about all medicine, and they don't. It's whatever areas you are working in. But don't feel in the beginnings. But if the sooner you can, let's put it this way, the sooner you can start telling people that this is outside of my comfort zone, this is outside of my wheelhouse, the better. If it is, if it's right outside and within reach, say that. You can say, you know what, I haven't done this, but it's like something I can easily do, even though I haven't done it before. But if it's something that's way outside your comfort zone, you shouldn't be touching it. And people are going to appreciate that. People want things done right. You go in there and flub something up, and they're not going to be happy with you, and you're just doing a disservice to them. So I wouldn't touch any of that if I was you. Now, supplying the work that you did, if you've been working on their QuickBooks and supplying it to the underwriters, talking to them about what you did, that's all fine. But going beyond any of that, you just lay it out and say, this is what I do. I simply take their information, I put it into QuickBooks, I reconcile. If that's all you do, then you just be really upfront about that. But they need for audited financials, they need somebody that's licensed to do that. And not all, and even I'm a licensed CPA in California, but to do actual audits and sign off on audits, that's even a different license, which I don't have because I never did audits and don't care to. So it's in California, you have to have a special license to be able to sign off on audits. This is a good question. The least of them asks, have you been affected at all with big boys, i.e. QuickBooks Online and others offering their own bookkeeping services for pennies. I have not seen any problems with that whatsoever. I think people can see that for what it is, and it's a very impersonal situation. Um, Especially the clients that I have and that that I market to and that come to me looking for services, and most likely in any of you that are looking at the smaller, small businesses, which is what I recommend. Um, they want a personable relation. They want a relationship with somebody that they can easily reach out to. I don't know exactly how those work, but if you're reaching out for help, how quickly do you get a response? Is it the same person each time? Do they know your business, or every time you have a problem, or do they have to kind of re-know your business? Relearn your business. So, and even if they do assign, say, one person to your account, how many more? I'm sure they're filling up those people's plates. Uh, so how many other clients do they have? How well do they remember your business? And so I honestly don't think small businesses that are looking for bookkeepers are not looking for what QuickBooks Online is offering, their QuickBooks services. So other services you can offer besides bookkeeping are taxes. You can grow into taxes. I wouldn't, if you're new to bookkeeping, I wouldn't try to be new to bookkeeping, new to taxes, new to payroll, all at the same time. I would, add things on after you get comfortable with what you already have on your plate. So I would start with just level one bookkeeping and then kind of grow on to that. You could add a higher level of bookkeeping, which is where you're handling like receivables and payables and stuff like that. And then you could add on taxes. That's a whole different beast, but it's very profitable. So, those are ways you can go about that. But I wouldn't, if you're new to all of this, you know, I would at least give one area some time to get comfortable with that, and then you can add on other areas. Hi, Victoria from the UK. Good to have you here. So, question about what resources would you recommend to help to decide on a niche market? Well, knowing, see, I have different people have different ideas about the whole to niche or not or niche. And my opinion has been always it's good to know, it's good to get in and work with a lot of different types of businesses before you decide to focus on one. If you want to, that's fine. You know, it's really up to you. But I think it's good to know how so many different types of businesses work before you would focus on one. And you can do both at the same time. You can take on kind of like all types of businesses that you're comfortable with, and also have one industry or two industries that you really target. That if you're wanting to do that, that's how I would probably do it. I would still take on other clients, because here's the thing, it's good to know how the world works. And if you can drive down the street and see a restaurant, you can see this type of business, that type of business, this type, and you kind of know how all of those work. You get a really good understanding on how the world flows, and what's coming in the future, what's gonna, what business is gonna make it, which one isn't. So, and then what if you focus on one type of industry, and then AI takes it over, and you don't, or it just becomes obsolete, and then you're like, oh, that's the only business I knew how to work. And so it's good to be well-rounded, like with most things in life. So if you're going to target one area, I would also, it's okay to target that, but don't 100% target that. I would say maybe 50% target that one, and then 50% target a bunch of other ones. Another reason is that there may be industries that you really enjoy out there and that are easier. You always want to try to work smarter, not harder. So you may really like a certain industry, but there might be another industry that the bookkeeping for that industry is super easy and you can make the same amount of money. Um, so keep all those things in mind when you're doing it. Let's see here. Melissa's asking which businesses are better to target, online based or brick and mortar. I would say I would answer it differently and say a service-based business, because service-based businesses are very simple. They have their operations are simple, and so if you're just starting out, that's where I would start, is service-based businesses. Um, they're just easier to work with. They don't have a lot of things going on. They simply perform a service, get paid for it. Um, so your best accounting freelancer is asking resources for on a bunch of different topics. So all of those would be different answers, but for bookkeeping, I recommend what I do is BookkeepingLife, my program. Um, and I do, I just address the whole niche marketing and stuff like that. But and then taxes and payroll, those are all different beasts. So, but like I said, I would focus on doing one thing well first before adding another one on. So if you're just getting new to bookkeeping, I would just focus on bookkeeping and ask that question at a later date. Ask yourself that question, like where would you like to, what would you like to add on? What services would you like to add on? Do I outsource my work to contractor? Well, I have an independent contractor doing some bookkeeping. Let's see here. So, Crystal Scott, where can I go to learn more about doing personal taxes and payroll taxes? Well, that's a whole different world. My back is bothering me today, so you're going to see me stretching it out constantly. Um, Doing personal taxes and payroll taxes. Well, yeah, it's different. But those are two different things, very different things, by the way. Personal taxes is very different than payroll taxes. So, again, if you're trying to be, overwhelm yourself, yeah, go down both those roads at the same time. um, but maybe I'll do a thing on taxes because I am very familiar with taxes. Maybe that'll be my next video. Is if you're wanting to add taxes onto your services, which I do recommend at when you're ready, when you're fully versed in bookkeeping first, I would say, because all that knowledge you're going to gain with bookkeeping is going to help you with taxes. Knowing how the whole bookkeeping world works and chart of accounts and where things fall and all that will make doing taxes way easier. And then it depends on if you're doing business taxes or personal taxes. Those are two different things. So the tax rules. There's so much more to know in taxes. I'd say bookkeeping is more art. I mean, there's definitely the science piece of it, but there's a lot of art. Like you have to be able to see a client, assess what's going on, how to fix it or how to take it forward. And all that is not necessarily something that's just written down on this is how you do it and here's a rule for it. There's a lot of mental processing that has to go on. Where taxes is there's way less art, I would say, and way more science of it. Where this is the rule for this, you put this here. If this, a lot of if thens in tax. So a lot of people will ask me tax questions, and I'm like, the best answer is it depends, because There, there are exceptions to exceptions to exceptions. Yes, you can make 60K your first year in bookkeeping. If you're a go-getter, you can. There's so much, everything lies on how determined you are to make something happen. But you can make $60,000 a year in bookkeeping. Yes, your first year depends on how fast out the gate you are. There's going to be a lot of work, a lot of determination, a lot of learning, and then some luck. You get the right clients that need your services and see your services. So there's a lot of things you have to do, and then there's a little bit of luck involved, like most things in life. You're in the right place at the right time. The piece that's not luck is that you put everything in place, and you're at the right place at the right time for a client to see you. So, what do I think of KPMG Spark? They offer bookkeeping for fun. I don't know anything about it. It's just another bookkeeping service, I guess, out there by a big player. Same answer as the previous one about QuickBooks doing the same thing. Most people don't like those big companies. All right. Hi, Victoria. Thomas is asking, what systems do I have in place for workflow management? I don't. Well, I guess I do, especially when it comes to taxes. So bookkeeping is done once a month for my clients. I do their books once a month. Sometimes more than once a month. But I just keep a spreadsheet of my clients, and as the new month rolls around, I check off the ones that I've done for the previous month, and that's how I do those. But clients that need you on a more hands-on basis during the month, there are checklists out there. I just don't personally have one. I kind of like, a lot of you are just kind of jumping into like a system that's already in place, and it's good to have these kind of checklists. But like, I kind of slowly ramped up to where I am today, and through that process, I just developed habits within myself, or checklists within my own brain, I guess, that keep me squared away. So Grayson, you're 24, CPA, good job, and 3 years of experience financial. It reminds me of my youth. Yeah, starting a side business is excellent. And your question is what services do you recommend to start with? So, like I was saying a little bit ago, just what we at BookkeepingLife call level one bookkeeping, which is just really the simplest kind of bookkeeping, where you're taking information from their bank and credit card statements, you're putting it into QuickBooks, you're reconciling, where they handle their receivables, they pay their own bills. You're not touching that piece of it. So it's a cash basis, which you'll understand, and it's just the most simplest type of bookkeeping. But there's surprisingly tons of small businesses out there that do that, because here's a typical really small business. They get their mail, they get their own mail, they open their own mail, they see what bills they have to pay, they pay their own bills, they pay it online or with a check, and same thing with money coming in. They do a job, they get paid, they put the money in the bank. So everything coming and going, every penny coming and going is really handled by them. And you're just taking that information from the statements and the accounts that it hits and putting it into QuickBooks. and reconciling it. That's called level one. We call it level one bookkeeping, and that's where I recommend everybody new to bookkeeping starts. It keeps you out of trouble. You're not doing any heavy lifting really, and you're really just taking information from one place, putting it into the software so that you can generate nice reports, and then from there you layer up. We teach all that at Bookkeeping Life. All right, let's see. You guys get a room. So, for the bookkeeping questions, I'm not going to answer specific bookkeeping questions, but we'll have I can do another video on that. All right. What free course would you recommend for bookkeeping? I'm starting from scratch and experience. Free course? I don't know. Yeah. Everything in the world is out there. It's just how well it's packaged and where to look for the next step. And so Paris, to answer your question, everything is out there. But that's why I made Bookkeeping Life, because there's so much stuff out there that you can get overwhelmed, not know, get lost in the weeds. And really, here's how it works. When you really, really start learning bookkeeping is when you have a client. So what I wanted to do with Bookkeeping Life is create the time from when you decide you're going to do this to getting that first client. I want it to be as short amount of time as possible, because you can get distracted, you can get discouraged, you can lots of reasons, life things that come up that can keep you from doing it. And so what we are always working to perfect at Bookkeeping Life is teaching you what you need from zero experience to getting that first client, and you're going to learn a lot during that process. But once you get that first client, that's when you really, really start to learn a lot, because a lot of stuff comes at you, and you figure it out and learn from it. Then you get that second client, a lot more stuff's going to be coming at you. You're still going to have that first client, and it just grows and grows and grows. Your experience grows and grows and grows, and you're making money while you're doing it. So that's the good thing. So our goal has always been, or with Bookkeeping Life, my goal has always been to keep that that timeline from when you start to when you get that first client to be as short as possible. That's why I recommend level one bookkeeping, and try to make the course really not a long course. Bookkeeping Life is not a long course. It's a very straight, very simple and to the point of this is what you should do, then you do this, then you do that, and then hopefully you're getting your first client. So the pricing, Melissa, that's another long story or long answer. Pricing varies on lots of things. I have other videos out there that address that, so I won't go into too deep a detail, but it depends on several things: the size of the client, where that client is, the cost of living where that client is, because you can charge a lot more if a client lives in a high cost of living place. They're used to paying a lot for services versus somebody that's in a very, very low cost of living place. They're not used to paying a lot for services. So it depends your experience level, what you're bringing to the table. There's a lot of factors there, and the size of the client. But I have other videos on it, and I talk about that in the course too. Service-based companies that are good examples. Pool cleaning company, yard service. Oh boy, yeah, just any of your typical just services. Yeah, somebody just said it right there. Thanks. Yeah, real estate agents, dentists. Well, yeah, that's still work. That's a good example of a brick and mortar service-based business. Janitorial service, landscape. Thank you, Viral Vids repository, for answering it. Hello, South Africa. Let's see. How did you become? This is a good question. How did you become comfortable prospecting for clients? That just happens. Naturally happens. So you're in it. You're in the game. Experience. It all just happens by the more you do it. That's not something you can just prepare for, and then when the real world hits you, you're good to go. No, you have to kind of pay your dues along the way, fumbling and that whole thing. But it's a good learning experience. Builds character. Everything. Look at it all like this. So I'm assuming everybody's had a job, and remember the first day of a job. First day is always the hardest day. Then the second day, because you did what happens on that first day. You've thought about it a lot, and you're not doing it yet. You don't know what's to come, and so the days or weeks leading up to that job, your mind's going, and instead of doing, you're just thinking, and then once you hit that day one, it's overwhelming and stressful maybe, but then day two is a smaller percent of what day one was, and then it just gets easier and easier. So you just have to dive in. So Danya, yes. Do I have a list of basic questions you ask clients when they just starting out? Yeah. That's in the course. I have that in my course, Bookkeeping Life. So you guys, if you're not familiar with Bookkeeping Life, check it out. There's a lot in that course, and if you're thinking about starting your own bookkeeping business, and if you're new here, you can check it out and teach you a lot of stuff. It comes with a lot of stuff, but it's all on that page I just gave you. So real estate, Melissa, how can you provide value to a real estate agent? Well, the good ones are busy, and so they need one thing is more time in their lives. The ones I've seen, they're zooming here, zooming there. Their phone's always going off, and they're always replying. They've got a lot of things going on at the same time, whether they're from where they're just starting to show a place or work with a client to when they're closing and all that other good stuff. There's a lot that goes on in between there. So they have, the good ones, they have a lot of different ones somewhere along that line. So, and the ones I've seen are always stressed and they just don't have enough time. So, basically making their life easier is where they don't have to worry about doing their bookkeeping. I mean, it sounds, that's a really simple answer, but they don't need to be doing their own bookkeeping. Let's put it that way. Now, whether or not you want to get into their, let's say, level 2 bookkeeping, where you're paying their bills for them, and handling their money more. I don't know about that, but I'd say the only thing that you can do for them is just take the whole bookkeeping thing off their mind, and make sure that it's done on a regular basis and done well. So Olga asked, how do you work with clients with large inventories from a record keeping perspective? I don't. But if I were to, it's all point of sale type of software that handles all that stuff. So it's all, if it's all set up correctly in the software, the software handles it all. But I've had clients with inventories in the past, but I don't deal with that stuff anymore. So that's kind of a bookkeeping question. Mia, that's a bookkeeping question. So, Crystal, someone in your town just started a carry-out business in a trailer. Would that be a level 1 bookkeeping? Yeah, I'd say so, because they're gonna handle all their. They're gonna buy their supplies. They're gonna pay their own bills. They're receiving their own money. They're depositing it into the bank. So you're just gonna be taking the transactions that hit their bank and credit card, and putting it in the QuickBooks. That would be level 1, yeah. All right, people. Good questions. Does anybody else have anything? So Grayson, yeah. Did I start my business while working another full-time job? Yeah. So you haven't seen my webinar. It talks about all that. Yeah, I did. So I graduated college and started as a staff accountant that same, right after I graduated. I might have not even graduated yet. It was kind of like there's a company that would take new account. They would interview and hire new accountants coming out of the college. So I was one of them, and so yeah, I started as a staff accountant. I did that for 3 years, and while I was doing that is when I was introduced to QuickBooks and bookkeeping. One of my coworkers was doing it, making money at night and on the weekends doing it. So that's how I learned about it and got into it. And then eventually, after 3 years, I said adios to my to being an employee, and I haven't been an employee since. And that was 2003. Yep. So yeah, I've been doing this for like 20 years, and I've been completely on my own for I think 17 of those. Do I get business from referrals from existing clients? Yep, that happens. That's normal. B&I groups, all those networking groups can be really good. They were never my thing because, believe it or not, I'm an introvert, and I don't like getting up, going under fluorescent lights, which is how they were back then. And usually at 7 a.m. because everybody had to go to work afterwards, and then standing up and talking about myself. I was actually too shy. I figured out a way around it. But people that do those are really they're really beneficial because they only allow one person from each industry. So they would only have one bookkeeper in the group. So you'd have to find a group that doesn't have a bookkeeper, and then you'd fill that spot. And then you'd be the only bookkeeper in that group. So that's a really good thing. There might also be an accountant or CPA in that group or tax preparer, but there should only be one bookkeeper per group. So those groups, that type of networking is really valuable. I know a lot of people that have done really well with that. So yeah, Olga, I don't want to talk about like business entities and stuff like that. There's too much to that. Is there a way to get certification on bookkeeping for international bookkeepers like freelance? I don't know if I fully understand the question, but I think the answer would be no. Certification on bookkeeping for international bookkeepers like freelancers. I don't think so. I think every country's got their own thing. And in the U.S., you don't have to have a license to be a bookkeeper. Yeah. So BNI, there's other ones too besides BNI. I can't think of what they are offhand, but just Google networking groups and put in your city or something like that, and they'll pop up. And then you just call them and say, "Do you guys need a spot filled for a bookkeeper? I'm a bookkeeper." So Fed1234 is asking, how often do you speak with clients on a monthly basis? Concerned that if I start this part time, I would be expected to speak during the day. Yeah, that doesn't happen. It may for some, but I rarely speak to my clients. They, everything's so automated, and I get their information without bothering them because I have access to their account. I have view only access to their accounts. I send them maybe a Excel spreadsheet with a list of questions on it each month, and then they email me back. But actually speaking to them, say on the phone or in person, I don't. Very, very rarely. And I know there's going to be bookkeepers out there that do regularly, but I don't. I'm happy to take their call, but most of my clients, they don't have ongoing questions. Sometimes like something will happen in their life where they have a question they want to call me and stuff, which is fine. Yep. So Fed and Thomas, you guys are asking the same question. Oh wait, no, Thomas, yours is different. Now that you're well established, how often do you talk to potential new clients? Yeah. I have people contacting me all the time, but I'm not taking much work. So like what much new work. So I'm very selective now. But I still talk to them, and it's daily though. Like I get emails all the time or phone call all the time. I don't really answer my phone unless I know who it's calling me because it's usually a lot of times it's just solicitors. So, but it's a daily thing. Uh, Pervy, I hope I'm saying that right. How to learn about different industries like bookkeeping for nonprofit, bookkeeping for restaurants, bookkeeping for real estate agents. Well, you wouldn't want to learn them all at the same time, I would say. How I learned about all those types of things. I don't do nonprofits, though. I have, but I just don't anymore. Is you get that new client that's in a new industry and you take it on and you learn about it as you go. That's how I did it all. My first restaurant that I ever had was my first restaurant that I ever had. How do you think it's possible to offer bookkeeping without payroll? I've done it my whole career. So payroll is so easy. There's companies out there now that do payroll, not ADP, not paychecks. I am not a fan of those because they rip people off. They there's companies out there that do payroll that very inexpensively, um, and they would have to pay me a lot of. I wouldn't even touch it, but like if I was into that, they would have to pay me 10 times what they're paying, or like I said, they couldn't pay me enough to do payroll right now, but if I was considering payroll, I don't know how you could do it any less expensive. You wouldn't be any benefit to the client by doing their payroll. I don't think, because there's companies out there like gusto.com that it's 30-40 bucks a month for them to have their payroll done, and that's everything done per month. No extra like those other two that I mentioned. When at the end of the year, there's not extra fees and all that other stuff. So it's hard to beat $30-40 a month to have your payroll done. So if you're going to offer payroll services, that's who you're competing against, is companies that can do it for 30-40 bucks and do it really, really well. Why don't you delegate work to your students and you face the client? Why create more work for myself? I work smarter, not harder. Yeah, so Fed, hopefully talking about payroll, I just explained that. So Melissa, yeah, I recommend and use personally for my own payroll. Gusto.com. They should be paying me. It's gusto.com. I think I pay 40 bucks a month to do my own payroll. So Laura, just because you don't do the payroll, you can still get the payroll information. What else you guys got? What is today? Wednesday? Good questions, everybody. So, if you enjoyed this, please like it, share it. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe so you know when the next one's coming down. I try to do these every week. I don't always succeed, but that's my goal. And I like suggestions for new videos, so you can email me, steve@bookkeepinglife.com, if you have any questions or if you'd like me to cover a particular topic. But yeah, and like I said, if you're thinking about starting bookkeeping, you should check out BookkeepingLife.com, my program. We've been at it 2 years now and helped a lot of people along the way, and constantly fine-tuning it and making it better and better for everybody. So it was nice speaking to you all. I hope it was helpful. So Laura, I already addressed that. That is part of in the program, and I do have like a checklist. Yeah, like an onboarding checklist. Okay. All right, I'm gonna sign off. Nice talking to everybody. Till next time. Take care.